Overboiling milk. What does that have to do with our today's pop-up session? We'll see that later, but first of all, welcome everybody. We're down here in the showroom again, live in Emmerich, and with me is my colleague Jens.
Hello, welcome.
And also my colleague Julian.
Hello everybody.
We will be talking about electro-heated roaster versus gas-heated roaster. So make sure you stay tuned and you listen to us, and you're gonna know afterwards what will be going on and how to do that.
Yeah, and directly at the beginning of the session, I have one question, Jens and Daniela. If we take a look back, why didn't we offer for almost 10 years any electrical sharp roaster?
Very good question that we get quite often now that we have the new electrical version. It has to do with the way of how the roaster did behave. And when you remember back on what we just saw on the milk, it happened that you had the reaction quite late in the old electrical roaster. So by the time you did something, actually the reaction came a lot later. So when you needed to do stuff, you kind of had to do it quite in advance. That would be the answer to that.
So with the old heating elements that we had in the first Pro Motor series, the -1 series, the heating elements were somehow lacking flexibility or reaction time. So that means you switched them off and there was still a lot of heat in, which of course had an impact on the roasting profile.
Yeah, but of course, if you knew how to go on, if you knew how to handle your roaster, if you knew your coffee, also here, roasting good coffee was still possible. But of course, you had to know exactly what you wanted to do in reaction and then do it quite before when you actually were at the roaster.
Okay, and yeah, why and how is it working now?
Again, good question. There are two main reasons why we now do think that electrically heated roasters are as good as gas heated roasters. I do a little drawing just to demonstrate what's going on in today's roaster. So we do have the roaster here. So this filling hopper, cooling tray. This is our drum with the showels inside. And then we have the burner here in the lower part of the machine. In the past, the burner was somehow mounted here underneath the drum. Still, the air was let over the burner to heat it up, and then the heat was distributed to the beans, but there was still a little bit more contact between the burner itself and the walls of the drum, so that means we had a little bit more conduction with the older roasters. In today's roasters, the burner is, as I said, in the lower part. That means there's cold air from the ambience, so from this room, coming to the burner. It's then heated up, so that's why I take the red color here, and then the air goes underneath the drum, through the drum, and then goes out, because here's the fan of our cyclone, which creates the negative draft through the system. That means no contact of the flame with the drum itself. Roasting is mainly done by convective heat transfer, and what we've done now is we just took the gas burner out and set a kind of electrically heating device in. And this heating device mainly does the same as the gas burner, just heats up air coming from the ambience to transfer the energy to the beans. And compared to the older models, to the older heating elements, the new heating element is much more flexible. Simplified said, we can say it's more or less like a bigger hairdryer, you know, from home. And we did a small video in which we would like to show you the impact of transferring hot air and cold air to an ice cube. Honestly said, we had hoped that you can see it better, but just pay attention to the little drops which fall off the ice cube, and you will certainly notice the difference.
So we would like to demonstrate how our heating element is actually working inside the roaster and how it's having an impact on your roasting bean, on your roasting process. So therefore, we're going to show that to you with an ice cube and the heating element, which in this case is more or less like a bigger hairdryer. And in the first place, we're going to apply hot air, and then we see what will happen. And later on, to show the flexibility of the heating element, we just apply cool air. That would be like lowering the heating element in our roaster, okay? So let's give it a try. Now cool air. And now hot air again. And one more time, cool air. And this is the immediate reaction. We see it's now dripping much slower. And this is also what's going on more or less inside the roaster. So, as you saw, it was not so probably well to see, but of course we wanted to show you how flexible the reaction is. And this is what's almost happening inside the roaster. So the heating element could be kind of compared to a hair blower, to a hair dryer. And you saw by the time we actually used the hot air, the drops were really dropping quickly. And of course, by the time we applied cool air, so as if we would take away energy, the drops, of course, they dropped on further because we cannot refreeze the ice cube, but of course they slowed down in reaction. And this is actually what is also happening in the roaster. And for better understanding the differences between the two machines, this will be shown to you now by Jens, who will do the explanation, and of course Julian, who will be behind the camera. So enjoy that as well.
Exactly, that's what we will do now. As you can see, so this is our gas heated machine, this is the electrically heated machine. Both machines do feature the separate cyclone, which creates the draft through the system. And we start with the gas heated machine and have a look inside the machine just to show you. So this is the inside. So we have the oven where the hot air is let through. This is the burner, so the mixing device. The burner head itself is somewhere here, and if the roaster would be running now, you would see the flame here inside and the air going over the flame to heat it up. And now we switch to the gas heated machine, to the electrically heated machine, sorry. And what we can see is that the main setup, the main design is nearly the same. Also here we have the oven, and instead of all the gas burner related parts, we just have the heating device. And also here, air is coming into the system, it's then heated up and then sucked through the system to transfer the energy to the bean. So in fact, the main build-up, the main setup of the machines is completely the same instead of the heating element, or the heating source.
So when you say it's the same, this means also both machines, they have the same reaction, they are the same as flexible, and I can actually do the same on either one?
Exactly.
Okay,
and
cool.
That's what we prepared already as the chefs in the TV. They always prepare something, and we prepared a small video as well, showing you how a gas machine or a recipe that was recorded on a gas machine works in an electrically heated machine.
So now we show you the video, and please enjoy. Hello from in between two P05 Series 3 roasters. Now, you might ask yourself, what's the difference? The difference is, this is our P05 III gas, and this is our P05 III electro. And today we want to show you how easy it is to take a recipe from the gas roaster and roast it on the electro roaster. So please join us, watch us, have fun. But first, before we start, of course we need to get the recipe from the gas machine to the electro machine so that we can actually re-roast this recipe. We will do that manually because automatic mode will not really work in that case, as the two have different heating sources, but more to that later on. So please follow me to the laptop and let's see how we get the recipe from the gas machine to the electro machine. Come on. And here, of course, we are in our gas roaster at first, and I already opened up the page where we can see our recipes. I just need to find gas electro recipe, and I choose this one, and I say, please export this file, and we can see here it's already exported. So this is already done, and we can switch to our electro heated machine. Also here, go on the pages with the recipes, and we see there's already some in, so some tests, but here, of course, we would like to import our new recipe. Therefore, we click on the three dots, we say import, and then we can choose our gas electro recipe, and we just upload it with a double click into our electro heated machine. I'm gonna switch back to the control screen. And of course, we're gonna upload this recipe over there at the machine, and then we're gonna roast. Let's check on the temperature, 194. So yeah, let's go to the machine, get the recipe ready, and then we are able to start roasting. So here on the screen, I will now just upload the original gas electro recipe from the recipe site, and we say start recipe. We have to be a little careful because it will start on automatic mode, and for sure put the heating on 100%, which we definitely need to lower right from the beginning. And as soon as we have dropping temperature, we will start. But first, of course, we need to get our green beans into the green bean hopper, so that we're able to actually get started, which is about to happen just now. Coffee goes in. And as we see now, the curves, they're coming a little closer together. We did have a little bit of difference in the beginning, but now we, of course, took a little bit of the heating away. Just have to wait for the right moment to adjust our heat a little bit more so that the curves will be running nicely on top of each other. So we're just about to change that right now, and then we will see how this curve is behaving. And as we can see now, the two curves, they are following each other quite nicely. They are not necessarily running on the exact same temperature, but if you just have a look, they're nicely following up. The green curve is following nicely that green dotted curve, and we are coming very close to the recipe, which we have roasted from the gas machine and took it over there to the electro machine. So also here, of course, in the beginning, you might need to find out what will be the correct setting, but this is the same when roasting on a gas heated machine. So here it's of course the same. You go there step by step, and then you find for sure your recipe. So this is nice and good to see how the curves are actually running nicely, almost on top of each other and following each other up, to just having more or less the same roasting curve, which of course then has more or less the same result at the end. And when we have a look at the curve now, it's really one on top of the other. And we see that the curve is running a little bit on top. So also here it's always necessary to lower again the heating element, like you would lower your gas burner. And again, the curve is running quite well on the curve it is supposed to meet. So as we see in the beginning,
it might was a little tricky to come to the right turning point. Of course, this is always depending on the weather, on the conditions. Even though we have the possibilities to get more and more information, still we need to make some slight adjustments. But afterwards, you see the curve is nicely following the roasting curve that we wanted to meet. And now for sure, of course, this is a gas recipe. Coming to an electrical roaster, we're roasting manually. So we kind of have to find our right curve, but this is the job of the roast master. This is what he's there for. Yeah, first crack. I'm also marking first crack. Just gonna show you a little bit of the beans. And I don't know if you can hear the sound of the first crack. And of course, by now, as with the gas machine, we will lower our heating element to just allow it to have a little bit more development time at the end. From now on, of course, always checking the product until it's time to dump the coffee. Okay, we're coming closer to our roast end temperature. Just checking the sample, just also showing it to you one more time. And then getting ready to get the coffee out. So we start the cooling fan, we start the steering device, we watch our end temperature, and just make sure to take the coffee out in the right moment.
So, while you've been watching the video, I've already prepared something. So, I took the chance, and of course I prepared the coffee that we've been roasting, the one gas version, and also the one electro version recipe. And I gave each of us 2 glasses, and only I know what's the meaning of the 2 dots underneath the glasses. So, let's give it a try and see if there's probably differences, or hopefully no differences that we could taste. And while we taste, Julian, is there probably already some questions that have been coming in? Because, sorry, we forgot to say that, of course, as usual, please, if you have questions, just go ahead, write them in the chat, or send an email later on. So whatever suits you best. We are also checking the chat questions and want to answer all of your questions. So go ahead, please.
Yeah, there are some questions, and yeah, we got some question also in advance. And yeah, the question is if I can run the P05 with solar panels, for example. Is it possible?
Generally said, yes, it's possible, of course. For the machine, it doesn't matter where the power comes from, whether it's solar energy or wind energy or whatever energy. But one always has to keep in mind, so it's dependent on how big is your solar plant on your rooftop. Do you have a storage for the power or not? Because not always when you are roasting, you have a sufficient power from the sun. But of course, it can be run with solar panel or solar
energy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And just to be sure, has the heat source impact on the automatic mode?
No, it does not. I know exactly why you asked, because in the video that we just showed, in the beginning I said that we have 2 different heating sources where it comes from, and this would have an impact. Of course, this is wrong. I was relating back, so no. In our case, the energy is of course reacting to the product temperature curve, so it does not have an influence if you roast on gas or if you roast on electricity. So no influence there. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. So which is the difference between the new software and the older software?
Exactly.
In the older software, we just had some set points. For example, at a certain time or at a certain temperature, the burner power level was dropped from, let's say, 80 to 60%, and the machine just knew, okay, I have to reduce the burner power from 80 to 60% at 150 degrees. With the new software, this is no longer the case, because now there's a kind of control in behind, so that always the machine tries to achieve the same product temperature curve as the given profile, and then of course the heat source doesn't matter.
Yeah. So software by now is a little bit smarter than it had been before.
Exactly.
But still, yeah, all software still works pretty well.
And to be honest, it is very difficult to taste the difference.
Yeah, I was just...
I don't know if you already tasted both, but for me it is very, very difficult.
So for me it's the same as well, but to be honest, I'm not the cupping pro. But I suppose that Daniela can
first
somehow
of all,
underline our feeling.
Yeah, and I get the same what you get. So for me there is no difference, but of course we're only humans. We are tasting what our taste buds give us and the information that we get to our brain. But of course we also have some machinery now that is testing what's inside the coffee. And I'm now just holding up a chart, and I hope you can see it quite well. And as we can see here, we see the outcome in different measuring points. We see the balance, we see the body, we see acidity, and of course we can see there's slight differences that could be measured, but they probably won't be tasted, at least not that easily. So also here, yes, there's measurable differences, but I guess for the normal coffee drinker, this is quite hard to find out. Of course, if you're a super duper cupper, you might get it, but even also here, probably also not. So yeah, this is just to show that it's not just us that have been just tasting the coffees now, but of course we also run some tests in the laboratory, just to be quite sure on that.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, we have got some more very, very interesting questions. And one question is, because of the carbon dioxide discussions in the politics and so on, is there in future, is there a possibility to retrofit, for example, the heating element to a P12? Is it such a plug and play system?
So it looks quite easy, but in fact, it's of course it's not, as always. Especially when we are talking about the P12. So right now just the P5 is available with electrical heating. This is due to the fact that the heating element of course consumes some power, a certain amount of power. And if we compare the two machines, the gas heated machine with the electrically heated machine, there's a 14 kilowatts gas burner inside, and we do have a 17 kilowatts heating element inside for a P5.
Yeah.
Considering that the P12 is much as double the capacity, we know we would need 35 to 40 kilowatts heating element for a P12, and this is something that we have to analyze, whether such a high power consumption is still possible for coffee shops or small roasteries. So whether it's possible for you as our customers to get a sufficient power supply to run the machine without problems. So this is something which is currently under examination.
Okay, yeah, and we need a little bit more power on the P5E, 17 kilowatt, you said, because of the flexibility, right? We have seen it on the video, in the video. So the P5E is very flexible, and we need a little bit more power to be that flexible as a gas version.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but still, as I understand, you can still do something about your carbon footprint by using the P05 III series. Is that correct?
As soon as we are talking about the electric heating, of course, because there's no combustion of fuel, so of gas, and if no gas is burned, of course we have no harmful substances which are released by burning the gas. So less CO, less CO2, and other components which are just released by burning the gas. Okay. Of course, there's still some CO2 in the exhaust air, but this CO2 comes from the coffee. So while coffee roasting, CO2 is released, but this CO2 was taken in from the bean while the coffee plant was growing.
So it's definitely developing in both.
Yeah.
So
There is one more question and regarding the airflow between the gas and electric version. And the question is if it is the same airflow or if there is any difference.
There is a difference. We have to use a little bit more airflow in the electric heating machine.
Yeah.
That's due to the fact that while the gas burner is more or less just a unit that provides heat, the electric heating element is a unit that provides heat and air as the hairdryer. So there is a certain airflow coming from the device. And if we would reduce the airflow too much from an electrically heated machine, then we would have a kind of overheating in the lower part of the machine, and that's why we have to run the machine with a little bit higher airflow, which is indeed 2.6 millibars in warm conditions, which is higher than with the gas heated machine, which is 2.1 in cold conditions.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the only difference, that's
Yep.
the only difference between the two machines when we are talking about the optional features. All the options are possible with the electric heated machine except airflow, because we have to make sure that the machine always runs with a certain proper, comparably high airflow.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at the way that the air actually flows, the way it goes and the way it transports the heat, this is the same in gas and electrical heated version. So.
Okay, yeah, and one more nice question. What is our comment about the noise level between the two roasters? Can I hear any difference in the noise level, or is it almost the same level?
So in two, when you compare the two just as they are, they're almost the same. But in the gas heated version, when you go up with the gas burner to, let's say, 100%, of course you can hear that it's just roaring a little bit more. You also hear a difference when you heat up the electrical heating elements to 100%. You can also hear a difference, but it's not as big in sound as we hear it in the gas machine.
Yeah.
But just compare the two, there's, I would say they're both quite well to work next to it all day.
As most of the sources for the noise are the same. So the cyclone is the same, the coffee inside is the same, and these two components are the ones where the most noise comes from.
Exactly.
So of course you can hear the burner,
Yeah.
and you can also hear the changes of the burner power, of the burner level, but in any case the coffee inside or the fans of the cyclone is louder.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, there's a question of Todd if this session will be recorded and be able to watch later. Yeah, of course, we will record the session and you are able to watch it later, so this is no problem. Yeah, one more question about the technical data. What electricity is needed for the P05
As I said, so it's 17 kilowatts.
Yeah.
It's three-phase power.
Yeah.
We have to have at least 380 volts. So with less volts, it's not possible due to the high power demand. And there has to be a fuse protection of 32 ampere. So this is a little bit higher than with a normal machine, but shouldn't be an issue in coffee shops or roasteries.
Okay, I'm just checking if there are any other questions in the chat.
So while you are checking the questions, we can show something, some nice things about the flexibility we've spoken about.
Yeah, exactly. We did some recordings before, so we just tried out how flexible the machine is and how quick it reacts. And you can easily see by the time we went up with the burner, of course, our supply air temperature went up quite quickly. And by the time we reduced the burner, here we had the big difference from 100 to 0%. You can also see how quickly our supply air falls. And again, we tried that several times, so going up and down, and you can see exactly the nice curve of going up and down with the supply air temperature. And this of course has an impact, or it shows the impact on how flexible this machine actually is and how good the electrical heating is reacting now. So no more need to compare it to that overboiling milk that we saw. So this would be one way. And of course we would like to show you how this looks in comparison to our gas heated machine. So we also did the same on the gas roaster. Also here we went up and down 100 to 0% with the burner, and we can see also here that the supply air temperature adjusts quite quickly. It goes up when we take the burner to a higher level, and of course supply air got a little lower in temperature when we went down with the burner. Also here a nice reaction that is seen and shown. So both machines, they are reacting in the same flexible way when you go up and down with your burner. And this does of course not only apply when going from 100 to 0 or the other way around, but of course also for all the steps in between that you want to use, and you can easily see they're both just doing the same. Thank you, Jens, for coming close with the camera. Makes things a little bit easier because our cool new great touchscreen unfortunately has a lot of reflection when you have the camera too far away. So I hope you saw everything quite well.
There are more questions regarding the price difference between gas and electric version. Is there any difference?
Yeah, there is a surcharge on the electrical heated machine. This is somehow different from the country you're living in, so the type of heating element we have to build in. But on the other hand side, there is a surcharge, but just keep in mind you save the money for the plumber, for the gas supply, for all the things which are related to getting gas to your local, to your premises, to your roastery, to your coffee shop, which is not always available, and then you have to pay sometimes a lot of money for just getting a gas supply.
Yeah.
And you just save the money.
Okay, and is the P05 available now, or?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is
Very
available
good.
from now on. You can just send us an email to shop@probot.com, and the colleagues will be happy to provide you with a quotation or to provide you with further information about the technical data that I just mentioned. So everything is set up, and yeah, we can start now.
Ready to go.
Very good. Yeah, I think that's it from the Q&A side.
Okay, cool. So still keep on checking.
Yeah, I will check, of course, of course.
Some still coming, but I think there's some more information we would like to talk about, right? Is that right?
So
right?
I'm just checking my notes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we spoke about the other benefits of having an electrically heated machine. So we just mentioned you don't need the gas supply,
Yeah.
which saves you some money.
This could be quite cool.
In
Yeah.
some areas, it might be that you are not allowed to use a gas heated roaster. So then you are. It's better to get for the electric one.
Yeah. Also, when you want to put it in special occasions, probably.
Special locations,
like,
shopping malls,
yeah. Cruise ships. That
Cruise
comes
ships,
into mind right now.
Airplanes. So there are, and more countries tend to make it more strict when it comes to the usage of gas. So yeah, there are several reasons why gas-heated machines are not allowed, or it's more difficult to get a permission for this. We already spoke about the CO2 footprint.
Yeah. Very important for a lot of people here.
We spoke about solar energy, so that you can even produce your own power for your own machine.
Yeah. Or you just buy the green power. So.
Exactly. In case you don't have the solar panels on your roof, just go for green electricity, for green power from wind energy, from water energy, from solar energy. And then the carbon footprint of your roastery, of course, gets much smaller and smaller.
Yeah. So if there's no more questions right now at the moment?
Nope.
No? Then I think for us, it's just to mention that our next pop-up session will be on August 12th. And this will be quite interesting because we're going to launch the new P05 III. So if you would like to see that and get some more information on this new machine, just watch us then again. And yeah. Thank you for the nice talk.
Thank you for the
Thank
presentation.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you guys next time.
Thanks for all the questions. And hopefully see you next time on 12th of August for the next big product launch. So the last missing piece in the new P series.
Yeah. And then we have them all complete.
P5, P12, P25. So stay curious. and see you then.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.